This is part two of the Bass Cat Caracal review. Had a little eagle swoop down right next to me and catch a pretty good size something. I just want to say thanks for watching. And if you enjoy my content, please subscribe and share it with a buddy. And we'll continue to have these kind of videos up for you guys to review. Also, thanks for shopping with my links in the description below at Tackle Warehouse and using my code KEN10 at 6 cents, because when you do that, that supports the channel. And I don't have a Patreon or anything. I just get that support from my few sponsors, and I appreciate you guys supporting them to support us. All right, welcome to the big pond, boy. There's just a little sliver there at the boat ramp to get it in the water. It is snug. I can't believe how many guys are here. It's a Thursday, and gosh, there were 30 boats at the ramp this morning. There's got to be some kind of tournament going on here this weekend. So I'm gonna be careful. Not my boat. We're gonna be really careful, but we are gonna let the legs out on it a little bit. See what we got for fuel. Both completely full, so we got 60 gallons of fuel. We're gonna burn a little fuel out of this thing to check the legs on it. Yippee-yi-yay. So right off the bat, it's got a good hole shot. So jack plate's all the way down. He's running an Atlas on this boat, hydraulic, 24 pitch. I will say the prop is pretty dinged up. And I'd love to do a video of a dinged up prop and then a new prop. We'll do that somewhere in the near future, but here's the hole shot in it. That's with 60 gallons of fuel in it. It's completely full. Okay, so I spent the day in the Caracal, and I'm going to show you a little bit of fishing footage, but we went through the boat in part one pretty thoroughly. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. We're going to mostly look at the performance of the boat and talk a little bit more about that. So the boat, that's a 12-inch helix in the dash, and if you don't know this now, there are multiple configurations with a couple of different size monitors you can put in the boat, or you can stick with this type of gauges if you want to. So Bass Cat has a whole bunch of options, and that's just something you work through when you order a boat. Obviously, if you got this boat, you would get that package, but several ways to arrange your electronics on the boat. And big dash, a lot of room, as we talked about in part one. And let's talk a little bit more about performance, and I'm going to talk about the bow rise in this boat in the grading video. So stick around on that, because I'm going to talk a little bit about why this boat handles the way it handles. My first performance report card on the Caracal, lightly loaded in the front end. Tackle, I brought tackle to fish with today. I brought 8 rods, which you don't think rods weigh anything, but they do when you got 30, 40, 50 rods in your boat. But live well's empty. Well, actually, let's fix that while we're thinking about it. No, it doesn't look like there's ever been water in Kelly's live wells, which is pretty funny. I guess when you major league fish, you don't fill the live wells up much. So back to what I was saying. So pretty lightly loaded, no tackle in the back of the boat. He runs big AGM batteries, 4 big AGM batteries, but 60 gallons of fuel in the boat. When I left Ross completely filled it full of gas, which I wish they hadn't done, because I don't ever run these boats with 60 gallons. And with I'm gonna say maybe an 80% prop on this boat. The prop probably needs to be replaced. I would replace the prop for performance. And the boat ran 77.1 with me in it by myself, which is fast. Now, I've just added 40 pounds of tackle to the front of the boat, and we're gonna turn around and run it the other way, and we'll see what kind of speed we can get out of it. Okay, so if you didn't see part one of this, I suggest you go back and watch it. But there's a 40-pound bag of deer corn in the boat, and originally I tried to just let it on the front deck, but it slid back when I put it on pad. So it's actually in that far front left box, this box right here. And that is way further forward than I would typically put that much weight, but it was a way to
create more down pressure on the front of the boat, just to see if it had any impact on the lift. And I gotta say, it didn't. So that was 70 right there. You saw me give the hand signal. And now, so I'm running live wells full, 54 gallons of fuel in the boat. There's 71, and running a heavy front end on this boat. And it's just got spectacular lift. There's 72. And I know the Air is supposed to be a faster boat. And remember, 73, this is not what I would call an optimal prop on this boat. A little bouncy through some wake there, but the boat runs right through it real nice. You see, I really didn't come out of it at all because I'm still running over 70. And then we're going to bounce up to 74, and I think we run 75 and change right here. Let's see where we get to. But you can see the boat is just flat flying. And again, well, I say that it's not a light load, right? I mean, I got a lot of fuel, and live wells are full, and you know, probably the equivalent to 80, 90 pounds of tackle in the front of the boat. There's back to 71, 72. The boat really has tremendous mid-range acceleration. 73, driving at 73 one-handed, by the way, and not feeling at all unsafe doing it. 74 through the chop, and I know I ran this boat 75, but I'm probably trying to drive it through it right here. But, you know, earlier we ran it, there's 75. We ran it even faster with it empty and just completely full of gas. So I think that's it. I think we ran it 75 and change, kind of crosswind. There's 76. There you go, right there. And I think that's as fast as we ran the boat. I think that's a pretty good indicator that under the right conditions, we got 79-degree water temperature this day. Under the right conditions, this is certainly an 80-mile-an-hour boat. So I think that was 76 and change that time. Got a little bouncy out there with the boat wake, but only turning 59.50 on RPM. So as it cools off, Kelly had said it's an 80-mile-an-hour boat. With a new prop, this is easily an 80-mile-an-hour boat. It's a fast boat. It's a hot rod. It feels more like my Lynx to me for some reason. I think because of the deep step into the floor. It's so fun to be back at Rayburn. I got an eagle barking at me over here. And on the point I'm going to fish over here, looks like about a 6-foot alligator. Like, come on, bring it to me. We're gonna go bring it to him.
Okay, guys, so several things here to talk about. First off, the boat. I made a comment a minute ago that the boat felt more like my Lynx in how it drives. And the reason for that is, come to find out after talking to Rick, that the boat has about 3.5 more inches of bow rise, which I think is actually the wrong term. That's Rick uses that term, but as I've done a little bit of research, I think the actual correct term is freeboard. And I'm going to talk more about what that means in the grading video. But the Lynx had about 5 inches more freeboard than the Puma and the new Lynx did. This one's about 3.5 inches more, which means it's easier to keep the nose up out of the water. The boat ran, I thought I had footage, I can't find it. The boat ran 24.4 miles per hour on pad, no porpoising at all. So that again is a good indicator that the boat will handle rough water really well. Now remember, it's about as small a 20-foot boat as you're going to get at 20 foot 2 inches, but it's got a really big wide beam at 96 inches. It's got a big front end on it. It's not as big as some other boats. As we measured earlier, if I remember right, I think it's 66 inches at the back seat pedal, and don't hold me to that. I'm not referencing my own video, but I think that's right, which is on the big end, but not huge like some of the other boats we've seen in the past, some of the Rangers and certainly the Icon and some other boats. So it fishes so similar to my other two Bass Cats. It's got all the same lighting setup. It's pretty much identical to them. You know, they're using the same stuff, right? The same latches, etc. So I was really impressed with the boat. It's going to grade really well. I'm going to surprise some guys because I'm actually going to downgrade my Puma score a point, which I'll talk more about in the grading. But here's just kind of my summary on the boat at the end of the day.
That boat, I'm like, how has that boat not sold? Because it's priced right. And he goes, you're going to think this is funny, but he says, it doesn't photograph well in the shade because of the darkness of the boat. It doesn't pick up the light. Look at this. That is a freaking gorgeous boat. It's in the light. I will be stunned. You know, I was just talking, and I'll talk more about this, but one of these boats is $6,000 or $7,000 less expensive than a boat 5 inches longer. I'll continue this in a minute. Okay, so as I was saying in the parking lot there, that is you know, that's 5 inches less boat for, I don't know, let's call it $6,000 less than a Puma or a Lynx, or a Puma. I think a Lynx is a little higher even still, but there's nothing about that boat that's not a premium boat. So you know, it's going to grade pretty well. It's a little smaller than typically what I would want to fish out of lengthwise, but not that much smaller. And I think, you know, based upon the way it handled itself at low speed, I think you can control. So there's an art form to driving a shorter boat in big water. I'm talking about, you know, 3+ footers. And I didn't see anything about that boat that would make me think it would perform any differently than my Lynx or my Puma did. So I got some thinking to do about, you know, kind of what I saw and how it fished. But I like the Caracal, I got to tell you. So we'll get some grading up here for you in the next week.